Welcome once again to the official Colorado Sports Hall of Fame podcast. I'm Dave Plati.
And I'm Tim Simmons. We are your co hosts with 90 years of experience working in Colorado sports. Myself with CSU Pueblo, CSU Fort Collins, CU, the Denver Nuggets, and of course, Mr. Plati with CU Buffaloes and the Denver Bears, and both of us with many other experiences.
We are continuing our reveal of 150 significant moments in Colorado sports history. The state's 150th birthday is fast approaching August 1st, the date in 1876 that Colorado was admitted to the Union as the 38th state. A veteran committee ranked the top 50 of those moments, all culled from over 2,000 that have been collected and counting. Those were ranked by 19 people with over 800 years combined years. Well, that would be true, 800 years of combined years of covering and or working in Colorado sports. We have been counting down at a rate of 5 per week, and we will do daily for the top 10 come the end of July.
We've already covered number 41 through 150 in our previous podcast, and now we're into the top 50 moments that were debated and then actually ranked by the committee. We are revealing number 36 through 40 today in the podcast. For the first 100, we wanted to make sure we covered all areas of the state and most, if not all, sports, but all were still significant moments in Colorado sports history. All have been archived on the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame website, along with our podcasts. Go to coloradosports.org, click on the menu bar in the right-hand corner, top right-hand corner, then you'll see the top 150 moments or podcast.
But first, we always revisit some other moments in Colorado sports history that aren't in those 150. These moments were identified chronologically, signifying their importance at the time and that had a significant impact on the state's sports scene. For example,
on June 11th, 1955, in its third appearance in the College World Series, the University of Northern Colorado, as it was known as Colorado State College back in those days, scored its first win in the prestigious event, upsetting top-ranked Southern California 2-1. Wayne Coates doubled home George Sage in the fourth inning, giving the Bears a 2-0 lead. Sage pitched the complete game, allowed only 6 hits, and struck out 3 Trojans. They were limited eventually by Wake Forest and Arizona. UNC went on to compete in 10 District 7 and won regional titles during a berth in the College World Series. The last time in 1974, the Bears overall are 3-20 in College World Series games. Just as a note, George Sage came from Denver North High School, and he ended up being a professor up at UNC, and he also was the winningest coach by percentage for the Bears, as he coached 6 years and then took them to 3 national tournaments. And at one time in his early career, he worked at UCLA with John Wooden.
So there you go. Okay, on June 8th, 1964, before the largest crowd at the time to see a baseball game in Colorado, some 25,832 spectators attended Bear Stadium to see the New York Yankees defeat the Denver Bears 7-5. And those were the days where the parent team or just any professional team would often play an exhibition game or two in the minor leagues. Joe Pepitone's ninth inning home run broke a 5-5 tie, and then Johnny Blanchard followed with a triple and scored on a sac fly. Mickey Mantle and Elson Howard were dressed and participated in batting practice, but did not play in the game. But Roger Maris did and went 2 for 4 with 2 doubles. The 64 Bears had 31 future major leaguers on the roster throughout the year, including Tommy Aaron and Jim Coker, who both homered in this game, as well as Sandy Alomar and Phil Niekro. Aaron, of course, was the younger brother of Hall of Famer Hank Aaron.
On June 10th, 1980, the Golden State Warriors selected 7-foot center from Purdue and a Denver East alum, Joe Barry Carroll, with the first overall pick in the NBA draft. He was a first round. That's the only one in state history has been drafted as the very first pick in the NBA draft. Chauncey Billups, who played at Denver George Washington and 2 years at CU, was the third overall pick by the Celtics in the 1997 draft, and the late Michael Ray Richardson, who prepped at Denver Manual and then played in Montana, was selected 4th overall by the New York Knicks in the 78th draft.
And on June 12, 2005, John Elway's Colorado Crush won Arena Bowl 19 besting of Georgia Force 51-48 in Las Vegas. Colorado receiver slash defensive back Willie Marshall was the offensive player of the game as he scored 4 touchdowns. Clay Rush's 20-yard field goal won the game for the Crush, who finished with a 13-6 record.
This is Mark Johnson, voice of the Colorado Buffaloes. As we count down the greatest moments in Colorado sports history, it's worth remembering that great sports moments don't just happen. They're built on preparation, resilience, and staying healthy. And in Colorado, a great sports moment can mean something different to everyone, from Hall of Fame athletes to anyone who simply wants to keep moving. Whether you're chasing championships, personal bests, or just a pain-free morning run, the team at CU Sports Medicine and Performance Center delivers exceptional sports medicine care, from prevention and recovery to performance. Founded right here in Boulder, the CU Sports Medicine and Performance Center brings together CU medicine providers and Boulder community health clinicians to provide comprehensive care that's close to home and rooted in the community they serve. Learn more at cusportsmedicincenter.com.
And now, on with our countdown.
The greatest moments in state of Colorado sports history. Number 40.
On March 9th, 1968, Adams State College was crowned the national champions in NAIA wrestling, and that was the first of 69 NAIA or NCAA division national titles the then Indians, now Grizzlies, have won over 7 different sports, the most by any college or university in the state of Colorado. Adams State hosted the event in Alamosa and methodically pulled away from Nebraska-Omaha, winning by 31 points, 108-77. The two teams, their schools, dueled the next year in Omaha with Adams State, which is now Adams State University, winning by 14. It added 6 more wrestling titles to their total to make 8. Overall, the school has won 49 men's and women's cross-country titles, 11 men's and women's indoor titles, and 1 outdoor title. 91, Colorado Sports Hall of Famer Dr. Joe Vigil coached the first 22 of those track championship cross-country teams, with current head coach Damian Martin the last 39. The Grizzlies' most recent titles were in 2024 when the women's cross-country and indoor teams won national titles.
The greatest moments in state of Colorado sports history. Number 39.
Well, let's go back to September 6, 1986. Colorado State records its first win over rival Colorado since 1958 with a 23-7 win in Boulder. The Rams took advantage of 6 CU turnovers, with Steve Bartolo rushing for 145 yards and a touchdown. CSU built a 23-0 lead by the end of the third quarter, and CU avoided being shut out, scoring with 29 seconds left in the game. The Buffaloes were coming off its first winning season since 1978 and had high aspirations. CSU was 5-7 the previous year, and the win was the impetus for the Rams' first winning season since 1980. Colorado would lose its next 3 by a combined 10 points before rallying to win 6 Big 8 games, as both finished 6-5 in the 86 regular season. Bartolo would go on to rush for 1,419 yards in 1986 and 48-13 for his career, both CSU records at the time, with the career mark still first.
The greatest moments in state of Colorado sports history. Number 38.
On February 7th, 1964, it was referred to at the time as the biggest upset in Olympic skiing history. 2 alpine skiers from Colorado won the first Olympic medals in skiing, with Billy Kidd winning the silver, Jimmy Huga capturing the bronze in the slalom at Innsbruck, Austria. Called a pair of daring 20-year-old American students, they upstaged several of the world's best skiers in the 2-3 finish. Huga was a member of the CU ski team, but Kidd chose to race professionally, even though he too was a CU student, both trained under CU coach Bob Biotti. Kidd, Huga, Biotti are all members of the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, as is Buddy Werner, who was 8th in the slalom that year.
And here was ABC's summation of the slalom that broadcast after the Olympics.
Then it's the United States slalom team that mounts the surprise. They were given little chance in the downhill test till Jimmy Huega of California came dancing through the gates. His fast final run assured him of third place. Then the crowd really took notice when Billy Kidd of Stowe, Vermont came flashing down the slope. His performance was so brilliant that he placed third in the combined alpine standing, while he takes second place here. And here's the gold medal run of the winner, Joseph Stiegler of Austria. He was pushed by the two Americans to put on a breathless performance. Stiegler almost didn't make the team. It was only public pressure that forced Austria to place him in this event. Stiegler and Huega. Silver and bronze are Uncle Sam's first medals in Olympic alpine skiing competition. Then it's the United States slalom.
You know, Jimmy Huga has probably the most mispronounced last name in CU history. And I noticed how during the clip they said they were in California and Vermont when they had been in Colorado for quite some time, which is why this moment ranks at number 38.
The greatest moments in state of Colorado sports history. Number 37.
On August 8th, 1936, Simla native and Colorado A&M graduate Glenn Morris, graduated from CSU in 1934, won the gold medal in the decathlon at the 36th Berlin Summer Olympics. An assistant for A&M football coach Harry Hughes at the time, he set a new world record with 7,900 total points in the 10-event competition, leading an American sweep and winning the first Olympic medal by a Coloradoan in a track and field event. Morris and Hughes were among the first 23 inductees into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame.
The greatest moments in state of Colorado sports history. Number 36.
On April 11th, 2026, just 2 months ago, the Denver Pioneers won their record 11th NCAA men's hockey title and their third in the last 5 years by defeating the University of Wisconsin 2-1. Held scoreless in the first 47 minutes of the game with only 9 shots on goal, the DU offense came alive, with Rieger Lorenz scoring on a rebound shot to tie it up at 1-1. Then, with 5:52 remaining, Kyle Sawicki tipped one in for the winning score. DU freshman goalie Johnny Hicks stopped 29 of 30 Badger shots and was named the Frozen Four's outstanding performer.
Now, at this time, we want to go back and revisit more of our famous ski moment. We'd like to welcome our guest for this podcast, former U.S. Olympic skiing and teammate of Kidd and Huga, as well as former CU ski coach and athletic director, Bill Marolt. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks, David and Tim. Always good to chat with you guys, and I'm sure I'll enjoy the show.
Now, you were also in Innsbruck in 64, teammates with Kidd and Huga and Werner, but other buffs were there like Beatty, of course, Werner, I just said, and despite no women's team at the time, Barbara Henderson Ferries was another CU student in the games. What did it mean to have that many associated with your school on the U.S. team?
You know, what was amazing is that group really started in the fall of 1961 when Bob became the head coach of the U.S. team, and he invited everybody to come to Boulder to train. So it was really the beginning of the U.S. team as we think of teams, you know, where you live together, you work together, you train together. So it was a close-knit group, and what Beatty always said is, you know, we win together, we lose together as a team. And so when we had the success in Innsbruck, it was huge. Everybody enjoyed it, appreciated it, and as the years have gone by, it has become even more, you know, more of a positive experience in our memories.
Bill Huga was a West Coast guy, born in San Francisco, grew up in Squaw Valley. How did he find his way to Boulder?
Well, I think that, like I just said, you know, Bob was determined to bring all of the kids on the team together. And so everybody, he asked everybody, recruited everybody. But I think one of the real attractive points was the fact that Bob was the head coach of the U.S. team, and Buddy Warner was already a student there, and Buddy really had become, he was really the leader of the team. He had the most experience, the best results. So I think everybody, the combination of Beatty being the head coach and pushing and inviting us, and the fact that Buddy was there, we all just decided to go to school.
So now go to Billy the Kid, almost the same situation. He grew up in Stowe, found his way out west, but he didn't ski for the CU ski team, but just enrolled as a student. Any idea why?
Plato, I've thought about that, and I think he was just so dedicated and so focused on what he was trying to do as a skier that he preferred not to go to school. He didn't go to school right away. He eventually enrolled at CU and graduated. He was from Stowe, Vermont, very focused on what he wanted to do as an athlete and how he wanted to become a ski racer, and very methodical about his approach. So he was there. He trained with us every day. He just didn't go to class, at least for that first couple of years.
And he sure became a Coloradoan by heart because he just retired 2 years ago after serving 54 years as a director of skiing at the Steamboat Ski Resort.
Yeah, that was a great partnership. I mean, it was ideal where Steamboat really sold itself as a Western town, and Billy Kid, the name resonated with everybody in Steamboat, and he became part of the brand. Billy Kid and Steamboat are synonymous, and it was a win-win, and both really enjoyed and profited from their relationship.
And people forget he won the bronze medal that year at the World Championships, I believe the first by an American, as the Olympic results used at the time determined those medalists.
No, that's exactly right. He was of all of the guys on any of the teams that I was on or that I knew, he actually was the most focused and the most diligent about what he did on a daily basis. Thought the most about it, and I mean, he would spend hours. Those were the days when we prepared our own skis. He would spend hours every night working on his ski. We'd all go in and work for an hour and a half, and Winston would be in there for 3 or 4 hours every night. But what he was really doing, he was working on the skis, but really preparing himself for what he wanted to do the next day and in future days.
Bill, there was 96 men trying to qualify in the slalom. After the qualifying, Hugo was fourth, Werner fifth, and Kidd 11th. Did the excitement start to build in hopes of a medal, much less two?
No, yeah, for sure. But because, one of the things that Bob did, to promote the team and to promote what we were doing, where we were going, is he set goals. I mean, he made them very public. And one of his goals was, we will win medals in Innsbruck. And remember, the men's slalom was our last opportunity. We had run the downhills, the giant slalom, and we got to the men's slalom, and we knew that we had a really good slalom team. So it was a great opportunity, and same deal. We just went in with our heads down and determined to get the results, and the rest speaks for itself.
I think we need to mention that you did finish 12th in the giant slalom yourself, and you were the first or second American, correct?
Yeah, I did ski in the giant slalom. I was 12th, which at the time you don't think is great, but after years of reflection, you think I wasn't too bad.
Now, after the first run, Austria's Pepe Stigler was in first, and he went on to win the gold. Hugo was third, Kidd fifth, and Werner ninth. Do you recall the order they finished? Did Stigler have to rally to keep the top spot from one of the buffs? Because I know sometimes when they race in the second runs, they kind of flip the order in different parts of the entire 30 that make the second run.
Yeah, what in the old days they ran what they called seeds, where you were seated in the first group, which was 1 through 15, and then you ran wherever and they drew those numbers. Then wherever you ran in the first run, they reversed it within the top 15. So Stiegler was in that first group, so he had a good starting position in the second run, and as did Billy actually. Jimmy really started in the second seed. Remember, his starting number was 24, and Stiegler and Kidd both ran. They were where they were, and so we had to wait. We had to wait quite a while for Jimmy to have his run, and he was awesome and skied and the hill there in Innsbruck. It was steep, very icy because they didn't have much snow that year, and so they watered it, and it was literally a vertical ice skating rink, and by the time 23 other guys go over that, it gets really shiny and slick, and Jimmy just powered his way down that thing and won a bronze medal.
I imagine he had to deal with some ruts too.
Oh, for sure. It was which everybody actually enjoyed. It was, it was, we there was a lot of pressure on us, and then when that happened, it really kind of relieved everything. So I think everybody was happy and excited and wanted to celebrate and delighted to speak to the press.
Bill, Gene Schubert captured 2 medals in Innsbruck for the women, a silver in the giant slalom, bronze in the women's slalom. Was there much interaction between the genders back in the day? Trust each team supported each other and trained together.
Yeah, we started training together in the fall of '61. So there was a feeling of team, and I think that carried forward all the way from '61 through '64. But it's interesting, Tim, because you train together all fall, but when you get into actual racing season on the Alpine World Cup, the men have a completely different circuit than the women. So you never really get together during the season. So when you get to the Olympics, then it was the team was back together, and both teams were good. I mean, we had good pre-Olympic results. Both teams are good, pulled for each other, and we're excited when each of us had success. Jean was an amazing competitor. As you say, she won 2 medals, and was a big part of that team and a huge part of the success of that team.
One of my good trivia questions is, so see if you know the answer, Bill. Who were the first buff? Who was the first buff or first buffs to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
I think probably Jimmy and Billy.
That's correct. 2 weeks after the Olympics. So I know it was 2 weeks because the date of the magazine always seemed to be well ahead of the actual dates things happen. But yeah, that's correct. So you know your history.
Oh yeah. I know. I know those Sports Illustrated covers. I don't know why, but Chuck Ferries, who was also on that team, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I think, pre-Olympics. So anyway,
Bill, I'm curious if that had a kind of role when the AIAW had a women's skiing in 1978. Always heard you played a significant role in adding that sport to college skiing.
well, I was part of it, and the thing that made the CU ski team so unique and good was the fact that we were really integrated with the CU Ski Club. And remember, in those days, the CU Ski Club was about 2,800 kids, and part of the CU Ski Club was the CU Racing Club, which was, for all of those kids that wanted to be in competitive skiing. So what was so cool about it was, there was never a kid that came into your office that wanted to try out to become part of CU skiing. you never had to tell anybody they couldn't. You just had to say, look, this is where you're going to fit into the program. Some could fit into the varsity team, some had to go to the club. So it was a unique situation, which really made our program stronger, and one of the reasons that we were able to develop such consistency and cohesion. And it was neat because we really were part of the student body as well. CU ski team offices used to be in the UMC, in the student union, with the ski club. So it was a really positive situation for an athletic program. And as part of that, that's where uh, the women that wanted to ski race joined the ski club and ultimately ended up on the slopes at Eldora training with the men and basically with the CU varsity. So we worked together, and ultimately the AIAW was formed, and then became members of the NCAA. And it is really neat because if you look at scoring for NCAA events, skiing is the only sport where you have combined scores of men and women, where they total up, how they each compete, and what their places were, and then what their points are, and how their team did.
Actually, there's three total, Bill, rifle and it might be fencing, but there are three combined co-eds.
Yeah,
Going back to, first of all, I remember that office was in the UMC in the bowels of the basement, right?
right.
And
Uh,
of course, the AIW was around for 5 years before the NCAA merged the sports when they started sponsoring championships for both in '83. But Tim Hinderman coached the men and the women to separate titles in 1982. So first for CU there.
yeah, no, Tim was he was a member of the team when I was the coach. Then when I left, the department hired him, brought him from Whitefish, Montana, back, and same thing. He just had a good, well-rounded background. Worked hard with the men and the women, and ultimately, coached separate teams, and then finally a combined team. So he did a really good job. He was really a good leader and a good coach.
Now, Buddy, a Steamboat Springs native, died a month later after the '64 games in an avalanche in Switzerland. I believe while there to film a movie. That had to hit the team hard and probably still stings.
Yeah, well, that was a tough one. That was, he had retired, and he was in San Moritz, and Willie Bogner, the ski line Bogner, Willie Bogner, who was the oldest son of the father, was a movie maker, and he invited a group of skiers to come to San Moritz and film, and do this film. And they were kind of out in the back country, and at the wrong place at the wrong time, and Buddy and a gal named Barbie Hanneberger, who was on the German team, were caught in a snowslide. And yeah, it was a blow. Yeah, because we were more than teammates. We were family, and we had spent a lot of time together, and knew each other well, and so that was a blow.
And of course, Buddy would have a mountain named for him in Steamboat Springs soon after that.
Yeah, that's what they named the ski resort, uh, and they call it Mount Werner,
Yep.
and it's so which is appropriate. His family had been there forever, and they all lived and worked there. The youngest, Loris, is still there. So
Well,
Bill, we lost Jimmy Huga to MS in 2010. He was just 66, but CU never forgot him, especially recently retired ski coach Richard Rocos. We often spoke about Buff family, but that is the best example of it.
Yeah, there's no question. Richard is really he's done a terrific he did a terrific job as the head coach, but he was really more than just a head coach. I mean, he really engaged and involved himself with all of the kids on the team, and he really did create the family atmosphere. And he was one of the few that really recognized Jimmy, and he would spend time. I mean, he'd go out and pick him up at the facility where Jimmy was, put him in a wheelchair, take him down to Pottsfield, and Hugo would wheel himself around the track in his wheelchair. So Richard really did a lot for him. He really did.
He was diagnosed, what, 1970, wasn't he, with MS?
Yeah, he was. It was interesting, Plato, because once you knew that he had what he had, once you knew that he had MS, then you understood a lot more about, how he looked and acted physically. He had that for a while before they really diagnosed it. But I think the thing that's amazing about what he did, think about what, in the original diagnosis and treatment for MS, the patients were, asked to lead a very sedentary life. Don't go out into the sun. Don't get overheated. There were a lot of don'ts, and it was really, you were supposed to lead a very quiet, easy life. And Jimmy was somewhere on the East Coast. I don't remember, in one of the beach resorts on the East Coast. And he was sitting inside. It was a beautiful day, blue sky, and he was sitting in there watching people out on the beach and people running and bicycling. And he looked outside and he was going, hell with that. I'm going out. So he went outside, started exercising, relearned to ride his bike, and became really, really active, and basically changed the whole way that MS is treated now. And it all started with Jimmy Huga. That is really the amazing story about him. He was an incredible human being, determined, tough. It's like it. Plato, it's like the Count used to say, pound for pound, there wasn't a stronger, more determined guy in Sioux athletics than Jimmy Huga.
So we're going to wrap this by shining a light on you briefly. You went on to coach the Buffs for 10 seasons, winning NCAA titles in the last 7 from 72 to 78. You then moved on to coach the U.S. ski team, the group winning a record 7 medals in 84 at Sarajevo. You then returned to CU for a 12-year stint as AD, and then ping-ponged again back to the U.S. team as its president and CEO. Of all those years, what were some of your highlights for you?
That's Plato. That's a hard one. It really is. I think that we had set a goal, and this is, the one thing that I took with me when I went to the U.S. team is I took, a lot of background, a lot of what I had learned. And, one of the things that I really learned from Coach McCartney was, if you've got a goal and if you're afraid to write it down and put it up on the wall for everybody to see it, you're not really committed. So we set a goal when I first went with the ski team of being the best in the world. And we defined that as winning more medals in skiing and snowboarding than any other nation. And, we did, but we involved the whole staff. It was not something that I dictated from the top. I wanted everybody to buy in. And so that became the goal. We put it up on the wall. We got a lot of grief for doing it, and it took us a long time. We set that goal in 1997, and we finally achieved it in 2010 at the Olympics in Vancouver. So that was a highlight. No question, winning the national championship in football was an unbelievable highlight. And there are so many amazing times during my career, and I'm thankful for them all. And it was the thing that was amazing is I had the skill set and the opportunity to go mostly the opportunity to go from step to step and always find something better and more challenging. So I have had great memories, but those are a couple that bring back really fond memories.
Probably my biggest memory with you was the November 19th, 1994, fourth quarter. You come to the press box, go, Plato, we need to go talk. We go to the roof. You say after the game, Coach McCartney's going to resign. And at every moment, Rashawn makes his run for 2,000 yards. We're high-fiving each other. Then I'm like going, what did you just tell me?
That was it was an awesome day because we had a successful season and Rashawn broke that record and McCartney as only he would decides to retire, and so it was a crazy time. But in retrospect it was all good, and we had to grow from it, which I think everybody did. And those they led to other opportunities that followed that.
I also remember when McCartney had snuck away to interview with SMU, you sent me down to Stapleton to cut him off. United let me down the jetway. His eyes he got those bug eyes sometimes. He's like, look at me, what are you doing here? And I go, Mac, there's like 20 media outside this jetway.
Right.
Word had leaked. And then of course,
Plato, it was really a great time in CU athletics. It was we really didn't have a very big staff. We were close. We all worked hard. We multitasked, and I think it was everybody was focused on what we needed to get done, which we did. It was just a great time to be involved.
Hey, Bill, one last question. We talked about number 39 in our podcast about the CU CSU football rivalry, but people don't remember that DU and CU were fierce competitors against each other in NCAA skiing. Did you consider a big rival?
I'm sorry, Tim, with
the DU rivalry in skiing, because DU and CU were the top two winningest teams in skiing. So
right.
How much of a rivalry was it with DU?
Oh, geez, are you kidding? In skiing with the two coaches were, they were a collision every time we got together. So the rivalry was huge. I'll tell you actually a funny story that, I talked about everybody coming to Boulder and all training together. And one of the guys, Chuck Ferries, decided that he was going to go to DU. So he went to DU, and he'd come up to CU to train every day, but he was still going to DU. So in the years when we had the ski team, when we were skiing in the World Championship or an Olympics, Chuck was one of the guys, and we laughed and had a good time. But in the off years, we wouldn't even talk to him. We'd show up at the same place, and we'd just ignore him. So yes, that rivalry was deep. There isn't any question about it.
Well, I just thought it was unique because of skiing in our state. I mean, it makes sense for the Colorado schools to have great ski programs, and those are two of the premier ones in the country. Well, Bill, thank you very much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. It's always good to catch up with you all, and think about some good times and some big moments.
I told you it'd be the most enjoyable experience you ever had.
Yes, for sure.
Well, everyone, we do hope you're enjoying our podcast and are reminiscing with our trips down memory lane in the state sports history. Let's thank our sponsors, Pasta J's at 10th and Pearl Street in Boulder, T Sports Medicine, occasional co-host Tim Simmons, Colorado Collegiate Chronicle, and Mark Johnson, the voice of the Buffs, for introducing each moment's number.
Well, David, that's a wrap on our 32nd broadcast. Tune in next week for the next reveal of the state's top 150 moments, numbers 36 to 31. And reminder that the Hall of Fame offers tours of its museum and the stadium, as well as Empower Field and Mile High. Thanks for joining us today.